Welcome to another episode of WTF Cinema.
Hey everybody. I know we just did a superhero movie, but the second I saw this film in theaters, I really wanted to do a WTF Cinema of it. So here we are. This is Man of Steel. Now this comes with my usual caveat. Haven't read the comic books, but I have seen all the other Superman movies. Some of you may recall my review of Superman 3. And I've seen Smallville, all of it. So I feel like I'm at least a little prepared, but anything that comes up that, hey, the comic books say that's totally okay, my bad. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. How's this for an origin story? We're actually starting with Superman's birth. Oh man, this is going to be a long movie. Apparently, Krypton is dying. I know. I was surprised too. And Superman's dad, Jor-El, is asking the Council for permission to take the all-powerful Codex and use it to start a race of Kryptonians on another planet. Apparently, Zod has other plans, though. Like I said, I haven't read the comic books, but I love Zod. I loved watching Terrence Stamp as Zod. And I like this actor. He's in Boardwalk Empire, and he's a very interesting actor. And I like what he does with the part, but it's still... He seems like a little bit of an odd choice to play Zod, honestly.
If we're here, there can only be one explanation. Our home has been destroyed.
I didn't say he was the oddest choice for Zod. To make a long story short, which I'm going to have to do a lot of in this film, because the movie's really, really long, Jor-El disagrees with Zod's plans on how to save the planet, which is to take it over and kill people. So he steals the Codex, secretly imprints it on his son's DNA, and sends his son to Earth. That's it. That's the first, 20-30 minutes of this movie. I'll give it this, though. Krypton is really pretty to look at. They never really explain why the Codex was imprinted on a skull, though. That would have been kind of neat to know. As punishment for his crime of attempting to overthrow the Council, Zod and his commanders have been sentenced to 300 cycles in the Phantom Zone, ensuring that when Krypton dies soon, they will be the only survivors of the Kryptonian race. Really? You know your planet is dying, so you take your very worst criminals and you send them somewhere where they will survive the destruction, leaving them the last representatives of your race in the universe. To draw you a nice parallel, that would be us in the future going, oh my gosh, the planet Earth is about to be destroyed. Quick, gather up all the rapists, all the child rapists, all the serial killers, all the psychopaths, put them on a shuttle, and send them to another planet so the human race can survive. Not the best plan. After the destruction of Krypton, we cut to an episode of The Deadliest Catch. Luckily, one of the fishermen is secretly Superman. I say luckily because a nearby oil rig is on fire, and if you ever wanted to see a topless flaming Superman, this is the movie for you. We spend a lot of time in the movie flashing back to his childhood growing up, him learning to cope with the powers and trying to figure out where he came from and all of the responsibility. It's very clear there's a lot of story here. Almost enough that they could make an entire TV show out of it. I love that most of his clothes are burned off, but the leather or fabric or whatever it is that's holding it on, because it doesn't look like metal, that's holding on his necklace, still holding on just fine. In another one of the many flashbacks we get, Superman saves a bus full of his classmates and himself from drowning to death. He is spotted by two people, but for the most part, nobody really knows what he did. They just know that the day is saved and maybe Clark Kent had something to do with it. So he's a hero, right? This leads to him getting a lecture from his father. Seriously, he gets chewed out for saving those kids. His father literally says, maybe he should have let those kids die to preserve his secret. This is the kind of parenting we're getting from Jonathan Kent. This is the man who will raise Superman. Maybe, son, it's best to let innocent people die to protect your secret. Even though you pretty much protected your secret and saved lives, that was the wrong thing to do. So back to present day. A mysterious foreign object has been spotted underneath the ice in northern Canada, so intrepid reporter Lois Lane is on the case. We also know that Superman's on the way because he overheard it in a bar when he was avoiding getting into a fight. I sense that we're on a collision course for wackiness! Later that night, she follows Clark through a tunnel that he makes with his heat vision through the ice. He just kind of, whole tunnel, walks through it. She's walking right behind him. And even though he's got super hearing, he does not hear her. So, they're going to arrive at that spacecraft about the same time. Clark saves her from an automated defense system, immediately starts to undress her, and then cauterizes a wound of hers with his heat vision. This is actually how I met my first girlfriend. True story. Superman then abandons her on a random ice floe and pilots the ship off somewhere a little bit more private. Because this is a world without, satellite tracking. Everybody saw the ship take off. When we next see it, it's sitting above ice. They were able to find it when it was below ice, and you're telling me nobody could track this thing. At all. Then Superman gets to meet a holographic representation of his father, who explains that the ship that he has found is one of dozens of scout ships they sent out ages before, and now it's time for some real father-son bonding. You see, central to the theme of this movie is this concept that on Krypton, they had given up natural childbirth. It was all genetic engineering, with every child being programmed for specific tasks and goals. So basically, they are born knowing their destiny, and they just live it out. That's the thing Jor-El was protesting against, because he thought free will was very important. That's why he and his wife decided to have the first natural-born child in centuries. So, Kal-El's purpose, Superman's purpose, Clark Kent's purpose, whatever name you want to use, is to be the first Kryptonian in centuries with free will, to choose his own destiny, to be whoever he wants to be. And this is one of my biggest issues with the movie. Because as Jor-El's giving him this speech about how important free will is and how he has free will, he also transitions straight to, in the same speech, telling Superman exactly what his destiny is. He tells him, you are going to be a symbol of hope for these people. You are going to show them how to live and how to be greater and blah, 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 blah. It's not how that works. That's not how free will... You can do anything you want. Here's what you're going to do. You can be anything. You're going to be this. What if he wanted to be a fisherman? What if Superman just really was digging that Deadliest Catch vibe and he's like, that's all I want to do? What if he doesn't have ambition? You gave him free will. That was your intent and purpose. That means he gets to pick what he does or doesn't do. You don't get to follow up a you have free will speech with a list of directions of what he has to do. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, using her amazing skills, Lois Lane actually tracks down Superman's identity. In like a week. She follows back stories of people who've encountered this man with these powers. That's really impressive for Lois Lane. It is. It just doesn't say a lot about how well protected Clark's identity is going to be. Because it didn't take her long at all. And because every good story set in Kansas needs a tornado, we flash back yet again. Papa Kent tells everybody in this bumper-to-bumper traffic to run for the overpass. Now this is really nitpicky, so I apologize. But hiding under an overpass during a tornado is one of the worst places to be. If nothing else, take this away from this review. It could save your life one day. If you're under an overpass, the wind will just suck you out and you will die. What you're supposed to do, and what Jonathan Kent should know growing up in tornado country, is you want to find a ditch or a gully, anything that you can lay down in that puts you beneath ground level. That way the wind will shoot over the top of you, you'll be fine. car may land on top of you, but it's the only way you're going to be safe from getting sucked out from underneath an overpass. Like I said, I know it's nitpicky. But if you live in Kansas, this is information you should be taught in first grade. Papa Kent runs back to the car in the middle of the tornado to save the family dog, and dies, warning his son to stay back. Don't give yourself away. I'm sacrificing myself to protect your secret. That part's noble. But can we go back to the part where he died because he went back to save the family dog? Don't get me wrong, I love dogs. I do. I have a dog, and she is awesome. I love my puppy. Right there. There's my puppy. My puppy is glorious. But if it came down to having my dog die in a tornado, or leaving my wife and child without me for the rest of their lives, as much as I would hate to make that decision, puppy gonna go bye-bye. I don't say that lightly, and I would be very upset about it. But you have a family, dude! You've got a kid who needs you, a special kid who needs special help. He needs you to be around to be like, now son, let people die so that you can protect your secret. I don't hold being an animal lover against anybody. If I was in that situation right now, I'd probably save the dog. I don't have a wife. I don't have a kid. So, you know, I'm not ripping people off as much. I'd take a risk and go for the dog. Man, that's how Papa Kent goes out? In Smallville, he went out fighting Lionel Luthor to protect his son's secret. Like, he sacrificed his life to protect his son's secret, fighting somebody who was threatening it. Here, he died because he went back for the family dog. And then, Zod comes in to mix things up. Again, he and his people are the only survivors of Krypton because they were criminals. Zod broadcasts to all of Earth, somehow instantly able to speak every language on the planet. He announces that he's here for Superman, and humanity has 24 hours in which to hand him over. Or there will be consequences. Now, because of a subplot I haven't mentioned yet, because I'm trying to get through this thing. Lois Lane, everybody knows that Lois Lane knows who Superman is, but she ain't telling anybody who he is. And the FBI is tracking her down, and police. Everybody wants to know who this guy is so that they can turn him over and save the planet. And so she gets locked up, obviously. So, after 5 minutes of soul searching, yes, the entire soul searching sequence takes 5 minutes. There's a priest involved. Superman decides to peacefully turn himself over if he can talk to Lois Lane first. I feel like we just skipped a huge chunk of the movie somehow, because now, Lois and Clark have this deep connection. They're holding hands and gazing meaningfully into each other's eyes. And the government is grudgingly accepting Superman as an ally in this whole thing, and Zod might be a potential threat. It really just seems to be going forward very smoothly. Apparently, 300 cycles in the Phantom Zone finally allowed Zod to grow the facial hair that he needs. Because you cannot be Zod without at least a goatee. I mean, the full Van Dyke is better, but a goatee is necessary. Zod tells Superman that, he and his people retrofitted the prison ship with some other technology, and they searched the stars looking for remainders of his people. Searched on the old colonies, and nobody was there. And finally, when he activated the other ship, there was a beacon, and they came to Earth to find him. But they have a plan. They're going to terraform the Earth to make a new Krypton, using the codex that they don't know is encrypted in Superman's DNA, and wiping out all of humanity. They're going to create a new Krypton right here on Earth. And again, we're skipping through some subplots now. Superman has decided, obviously, not to team up with Zod to destroy the Earth. I know it's shocking. He's going to fight back. So Zod's trying to figure out where the Codex is, because he doesn't know what's in Superman's DNA. And Superman is now fighting some of the henchmen, some of Zod's henchmen. And the military decides to get involved, because these guys are just destroying Smallville. And I know this probably isn't intentional, but very clearly one of the henchmen hulks out on the jet. It looks exactly like the scene from Avengers, which came out before this. of just, you know, the guy tearing apart the jet while he's standing on it in rage because he got hit. For shame. Seriously, guys, you can clearly tell that your bullets are having less than no effect on these people. At what point do you just drop your weapons and run away screaming like little girls? These 3 people fighting are doing as much damage as all of the Avengers did fighting an entire army of aliens in New York. How do you ramp up from this for the sequels? This is kind of a meta-criticism, but, you know, in general, you want sequels to be bigger and better. The city of Smallville is almost completely destroyed, and later we're going to destroy almost half of Metropolis. How do you ramp up from this? Zod decides it's finally time to release the terraforming engines on Earth, because he's realized that the codex is encoded in Superman's DNA, and Superman doesn't even have to be alive to extract it, so let's start the process. And again, I point out, they're on a prison ship. Why does the prison ship have terraforming capabilities? Isn't that the kind of technology you wouldn't want on a prison ship? But what if the prisoners take control of the ship and then use it to create their own utopia? Psh! What if the guards need it? Obviously. Thanks to advice from Holodad, Superman has a plan. See, he's going to destroy one of the terraforming engines, and then the military is going to shoot the spacecraft he came to Earth in at the other one, which will create a singularity, which will suck in all of Zod's army through some mumbo-jumbo sciencey stuff. So, you know, kaboom! Bad stuff gone! Good stuff here! Hooray! Meanwhile, one of the terraforming engines is essentially destroying Metropolis. I've watched a lot of movies, and if I've learned anything from action films, it's this. And I know I said earlier I wanted you to take that away, but along with tornado advice, I want you to take this away. It's life advice, because it may save your life one day. If you are ever in a situation where you see a large object, say a building, and it is going very slowly to collapse onto your face, do not stand there and stare at it. Run. Run as fast as you can. Serpentine if you want to. Try running at right angles, down alleyways, or whatever. Try anything. Because even if you can't outrun the building, at least you tried. Do not stand there and stare as your death falls upon you. Try. Superman's plans worked. The terraform engines are out of commission. All that's left is one confrontation with General Zod, because even though his army is gone, you knew he had to stay behind for a final beat-em-up confrontation. Well, Metropolis has seen better days, hasn't it? That is an absurd amount of destruction.
I exist only to protect Krypton. That is the sole purpose for which I was born.
Okay, here's my other huge problem with this movie. Now, we said earlier Zod's plan was to terraform the Earth. And right here, Zod tells us that his sole purpose in life, the reason he was created and bred, his very DNA tells him he must protect Krypton. And to protect Krypton, he has chosen to terraform Earth and make it the new Krypton. If he had chosen any other uninhabited planet in the universe, which is possible, they had colonies, so there are other planets that would work. They could even go back to one of those old colonies. Any other planet in the entire universe, Superman would have gladly helped him bring back his race. If he had just come down and been like, we need your help, we're the last of our kind, you have the information we need, if we could just borrow you for a minute, we're going to go to this other planet, Superman would have done it. It's very clear. Superman would have gone with them and started New Krypton somewhere. And then General Zod's mission, his goal in life, would have been accomplished. But no. By choosing Earth, Zod guaranteed that Superman would fight against him. Even if Zod believed that Superman would have no chance of victory, If he had chosen any other planet, there wouldn't have even been a confrontation. There wouldn't have even been a potential obstacle. So, his DNA, his very soul, says that he must protect Krypton, and he does so by choosing the one single course of action that could potentially cause Kryptonians to cease to exist altogether in the universe. This is my one mission in life, so I will very clearly pick the one course of action that will guarantee that I fail. The writers of this movie really wanted to explore this idea of predestination and genetic destiny, and they didn't even come close to doing it right.
There's only one way this ends, Cal. Either you die or I do.
You just listed the two different ways this could end. Kryptonian math isn't very good, is it? And so, after a thrilling fight that destroys even more of the city, including, for you fanboys, a LexCorp oil tanker and a Wayne Tech satellite up in space, Zod decides to put Superman in an impossible place. The laser beams are just going, and it leads Superman to an unthinkable act. There were other options. Sleeper hold, maybe? Cut off the oxygen flow, knock him out. Perhaps using your super strength to just pummel him in the head until he passed out. Throwing him through a wall and continuing your fight. Or how about this one? If the people who were trapped in that corner got out of the way. I know it looks like they're just stuck there and they're gonna... But if you look, all they'd have to do is run like 2 feet towards Zod and then take a sharp left. And I don't care. It's their left, alright? It's freaking their left. Whatever direction their left is. And they'd be out of harm's way. Instead, they are standing there watching their doom come at them. Now, I know normally you don't want to run towards the giant power-hungry thing that's about to kill you, but he's going to kill you with laser beam eyes. They're over here, right? They're going this way. So you come this way and you go that way. And you're safe. Don't get me wrong. Watching Superman snap Zod's neck is kind of cool, but really not necessary from a plot standpoint. It was not a necessity. And now we've got a superhero who can murder, which is different. It's interesting. They were very clearly trying to make it so he had no other choice, and clearly there were alternatives. And then we get a fun scene where Superman makes friends with the military and gets a job at the Daily Planet. The end! This movie's pretty. Flashy, lots of good action fight sequences. It actually is kind of fun to watch Superman and Zod just beating the snot out of each other, Superman and the other. It's pretty neat. I mean, it's really CGI heavy, but it's still kind of neat. Mid-air fights and entire buildings being collapsed as a result of people getting punched through them. That's cool. For a comic book movie, it's not bad, I guess. For mindless entertainment, it was okay. The problem is, it very clearly wanted to have deep moments, deep philosophical moments, and it failed. You cannot have a movie about the evils of predestination wherein you give your character free will and then immediately instruct him what he's going to do with that free will. You cannot. You cannot have a movie where you have a character who is bound by his very DNA to take certain courses of action and then have him choose the only method whereby those courses of action cannot be fulfilled. That is the one thing he should not have been able to do because it's the one thing that would have prevented him from accomplishing his destiny. You tried, film. You tried to address these deeper issues. You failed. You messed him up. And then you had Superman's dad. Maybe you should have let the kids in the bus die. Not, maybe you should find a way to hide your powers. Save people, but don't let them catch you. No, no. Let them die, son. Let them die. Apart from the action sequences, a lot of this movie was just upsetting. But the action was pretty. And I'll still go to see Superman vs. Batman. Why? Because I'm a glutton for punishment. And apparently so are you guys for watching all of these episodes. This is our 42nd episode. I have something special planned for the 50th when we get there. So, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you for watching WTF Cinema. Until next time, what the f***, man?
After the destruction of the